tapped or clicked in to College Volleyball Weekly on Viral Volley Media. Now here's your host, Rob on mic.
All right, good day. On screen with me today, you've got Kristina Hernandez of Stetson University of the ASUN Conference, ready to share about the upcoming 2023 season, which all of us are excited to see. Good morning, Kristina.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, and I'm looking forward to find out more about the ASUN Conference, the teams, and of course, your Stetson Hatters. So first and foremost, what's the history of the ASUN Conference since its beginnings, and fill me in.
So the ASUN was basically the first beach conference that was like established when it became a sport, when it was like sand. So they were very great about kind of doing that really early. So we've always been a part of that. And for the most part, I think the main schools like UNF and FGCU, we've all been in that since the start of it. So that was back in 2011, 2012, when it first became a sport. So, you know, the conference has kind of just continued through the past years, kind of adding a few members here and there. But like I said, for the majority, I feel like us, UNF, Florida Gulf Coast, Mercer was also a consistent in there, and now they've left the group. But we've won 6 ASUN titles. I believe UNF has 4. Wow. And that is the, you know, span of its length of time here. But yeah, so that's our conference.
Well, according to my notes, is 2012 was the first season, but and as you've stated, Stetson has been at the top or near the top. So, what have you done to keep that going there at Stetson? Because I mean, winning's hard, especially at the level that you're playing at now, and especially I mean all the talent that's beginning to show up around the nation, not just the traditional coastal states. You're seeing Texas beach, like there's a beach in Texas besides Padre, of course, but fill us in.
So it's kind of been neat, you know, when I first got here, so I got here in 14, so the spring of 14, and at that time UNF had won the first 2, and that was all I heard about when I first got here, was that, you know, they had been in the championship and they lost the championship to UNF. So that group in general was very, they were juniors by the time I came in, like that first initial group that started the program. So they were very strong-willed with like wanting to kind of change that scenario and be that, you know, be that team. So to say that they just totally fell in, you know, feet first, did everything that we asked them to do to kind of do that. I mean, because we won our first championship in 14 in my first season here, and that group was a big part of that. Like, we talk about them all the time. They totally changed the history of our program. And then by 15, that same group, by the time they were seniors, we started to win, you know, against national teams, and we're finally ranked nationally. So basically every group that has kind of rolled in after that, when you walk into our facility, we have like a tunnel, like a little tunnel from our locker room that goes onto our sand, and it's got all these banners and all this history of all the players. So that is always a big spiel and talk for us when we first start season, we first start spring. So there's always this want from every class we have to kind of up the previous class, right? And do better than the previous class. So the history that we have from a program and tradition standpoint is so huge right now, because we've been in the championship for 10 years straight now as a program with the ASUN, and that's huge. Like, who wants to be the first Stetson team not to be in that situation? But it's like every year gets harder and harder, but they have that hunger to do it. And them getting on the wall for us and being on those banners is really important for them. So there's a lot of history and a lot of tradition there, and a lot of want to really like honor the past from what has happened, because we talk about it so much with our program and our team. And then, like I said, just really try to one up, you know, we talk about this group, we talk about our 19 team a lot, because they did something phenomenal with beating USC, and they had beaten West Coast for the first time. So they're trying to up that class. That's kind of their goal right now, is can we be the team that you're talking about all the time? because we're constantly bringing up teams and what they were like. So I think it means a lot to them to kind of be in that position, even though it does get extremely hard every year. I mean, Florida Gulf Coast has gotten really good in the last couple of years. Like there was a point last year where I was like, oh my gosh, we're in trouble right now. And UNF has challenged us a lot at points. There were times where it's the same thing. We're sitting there in that championship match and it's getting really close. And I'm just like, this might be it. This might be the time where we're going to lose it. So there's definitely always a lot of conference rival there, but we always just think about surviving and trying to strong will past it, but we'll ride it as long as we can. That's
Right.
the goal. Yeah.
Well, you're doing a great job. I mean, even looking at last year's standings, although it wasn't the best record of all the ASUN teams, I mean, you're still right there with a really high winning percentage. I mean,
Yeah.
20 plus wins is always great for any team, particularly
Yes.
when it comes to getting NCAA bids and so forth. So
Mhm.
I noticed on social this week, a few of the girls or ladies, women have been rocking some hardware. Is this from
Yes.
what happened last year where you got that hardware?
Yeah, we got our rings like a couple of weeks ago, so they're pretty excited about it. Yeah, we got them in November towards the end of kind of fall. They have been waiting for them for a long time, but yeah, we're excited and they're ready to battle and get the next one for sure.
Yep, perfect for media day.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
All right, I'd have to pause there really quick. My daughter was supposed to watch something in the oven and she's not getting it. So I hear 1 second. I'm gonna pause it right here.
All right.
Oh, there we go. All right. All right, we'll jump in. All right, Kristina Hernandez, checking out what's happening across the nation here, but what major changes have you seen in the development and growth of collegiate beach volleyball?
That's I think fall was a really nice change and very different. And I think we're all still trying to find some tweaks with that as well. But that growth in general, I thought was really beneficial, especially for us as a team. We got to play more, everybody got to play, we got to do a lot of pair stuff, change the lineups, but I think we got to really see how different pairs who maybe we thought were like a 4 or 5, how they did against other higher level pairs, where in the fall, maybe sometimes we did duels and we maybe necessarily see that because we already assume somebody can be there. So I think that opened up a lot. I thought all of the fall competition, especially the stuff we had in the East, was very competitive. And I know the West had a lot as well, but I think that's just going to continue to help everybody continue to get better and stronger because everybody's having more play opportunities.
Right.
And also I think the load of it was probably the first time the general intensity of how many games we're playing, the fatigue of that really almost mirrored what we feel like during season, right? Where I think in the past we maybe played one day and we played 2 games and then we're done. So we kind of felt good all the time. And we kind of got to pairs nationals in that last weekend and we were feeling that fatigue. And that was good because it is always at the end of the season learning how to play, like when we're kind of in April and May, and can we still be really good then? So I thought that was great. But I think now, especially with how the bids are changing and how they're getting awarded, it's like everybody has to be really good now, right? And your schedule has to be balanced, and we've got to get out west and everybody's very good. I also think the East is going to be really strong this year and I'm really excited about it. Like you asked just thinking about who I think was going to be good, and I was like, East, everything that popped into my mind was like an East Coast school, and I'm a little biased and I don't see the West very much, so I will give them that. But I think there's a lot of strength out here from a lot of teams, and I think that's going to be fun. So I think the biggest shifts that happened in the last couple of years that every game we walk into now is highly competitive. And I don't think that you can kind of really take anybody for granted. I think everybody's getting good. Everybody's getting good recruits. Everybody's getting stronger. And I think that's just going to help the sport grow dramatically and even more as it has. And I really like the structure of the championship. I thought the first round this past, and I know it's going to change again, but I think it's going to be very similar where you kind of have that first round knockout stage. And I think more upsets are just going to happen. Like that was the most exciting first round I've been to in a while, where it was like anything can happen. And all these schools are showing up, and you kind of have that March Madness feeling of like anybody could win at this point. And I think that's awesome. So if I think back to like my first year in 14, when we went, USC was the school, right? And they were just better than everybody. And you had, Clays and Hughes were playing together at that point, and you weren't going to beat them. And that was like not happening. So I think just in that, where everybody's, growing and getting more competitive, and there's not just one school that, is just going to beat everybody. And that's fun, and it's great for the sport. So I'm excited about its continued growth and how everything's kind of continuing to evolve.
Now, you mentioned some pairs competitions, and you had some well, I don't know if they're your normal pairs, but I know that you had some people at them. Can you share a little bit the fall competition and some of the athletes that competed in those fall competitions?
For our team or just other teams?
For your team.
Yeah. So we were fortunate to be by Tavares. So we had, I think, two or three out there. I can't remember, such a blur. But all the East Coast schools. So we had like every Florida school is there. Our returning pair of Carolina Ferraris and Annette Namiki, they were great, and they won the P1441. And they were in the finals versus FSU. With Raylan and Paige, and that was a battle back and forth. And we had I think we had played them like at that point 5 times already in probably that one weekend. And Carolyn and I were like, why are we playing them again? I was like, because it's all right. So that was a huge win for them. And I think just overall a really strong tournament, a lot of really good 1 and 2 seeds. So they were really successful this fall. Karen Zolnarchkova and Noelle Weintraub also had some really good finishes. They finished in the top 3 of 2 tournaments, and they were our 5 seed last year. So we're excited about them. They've gotten a lot better. They've grown a lot. They're definitely not going to be down in that 5 range this year. So, they're going to be much stronger for us. And then we had another pair, and it was kind of a combination where it was one of our players named Clea and Noelle. They finished 3rd as well in one tournament. Clea has been a defender for us, but she's very physical, and one of our blockers was out. So we put her as a blocker, and her and Noelle just like clicked it off and almost beat Carol and Annette getting into the semis. And we were like, oh, this is fun. So we were really young last year. We had a lot of freshmen and sophomores, and they're definitely more mature this year, but they've grown a lot, and there's a lot of depth. So we've been able to play a lot with our lineup. We had a lot of them have a lot of success. Whether we do the same thing or not, we're not sure, because I think we've got a lot of options that we like. So we're kind of just playing around with it still and see what's best for everything.
Oh, there you go. Coach keeping it close to the hip before
Yeah. I don't like to change my lineup a lot once season actually starts. Like once season actually starts, I'm like, that's all right. They already know what we're going to do.
You can just check your whiteboard. Anyone watching, they can like zoom in.
I can look at that, but yeah.
Now tell us about your whole team this 2023 season and what we expect to see. I know you said that once you get started, you're going to stay with it, but who are some of the key players on your team that will be, well, I know all of them will contribute in one way or another, but who are names to look out for if you're just a fan from, let's say, the West Coast who doesn't get to watch a lot?
Yeah. So I love, there's so many key players that we have coming back. It's hard for me to pick. But I mean, Shay Henson, she was an All-American for us last year. She's going to be back, and she's still got another year after this for us. Like I said, everybody was still really young last year. Carolina Ferraris and Annette, obviously, 2 very strong players. Noelle and Karen, also very good. Audrey Gautier, she was at a 4 seed last year for us. She won her UCLA match. They were very good. She was very good for us at the end of season last year, like went on I think almost just her win streak at that point with her partner. I think they were 11-1 for us towards the end of the season. So she really took off for us at the end, and we took her to pairs nationals for ABCA because she was playing so well. And her and Gabby, who's also returning, did really well. We against most of the West Coast schools playing 1s and 2 seeds, and they finished like 15th or 16th, I think, in that. So she's also going to be better for us and be in that. There's Yeah, there's just a lot. Most of our kids that are returned and coming back and played for us last year have gotten better. And they can play high. And so now, like I said, we're kind of just trying to figure it out. But yeah, that's very long-winded answer. I can't pick one or two.
That's all right. You're trying to keep it secret for the other teams for the opening of the season.
No.
So let's go outward within the ASUN conference, which is kind of like a mini preview, we'll say. But who are the teams in the ASUN conference that are preseason favorites? I know you've already said Stetson, of course, but who are the other ones that other volleyball fans should be on the lookout for?
FGCU is definitely going to be, they returned a lot. I mean, Madison Parmelli, Casey Johnson, Dylan Brewer is one of their new freshmen, and I really like her. I was really impressed with her in the fall. She's super athletic and dynamic, and she's going to add a lot to that lineup. So I don't really think they lost a lot of big pieces, and they were still they were a big challenge for us last year, and there's already a big conference rival there. So I expect them to be, in that battle with us. UNF is UNF, and we have a ton of history with them. They lost a lot. They had that kind of fifth year grad going on for them last year, and they lost a lot of kind of their one seed stability and stuff like that. But they're always really scrappy defensively, and we can anticipate that they'll be in that mix, in that battle as well. And we lost Charleston, Wilmington, and Mercer. So, they're out of kind of that conversation now, but I would expect us, FGCU, and UNF to kind of be in that kind of three-way battle for ASUN towards the end.
Well, you actually brought up an interesting point that I skipped over, but it's a new look ASUN conference, all you viewers and listeners. But the departures leaving were College of Charleston, who went to Sunbelt, Jacksonville State to Conference USA, Mercer to Sunbelt, Stephen F. Austin to Sunbelt, and North Carolina Wilmington also to Sunbelt. But who you bring in, looking on my notes here, is it Mercer? So you said no,
Mercer.
Austin P.
Yeah,
from the Ohio Valley Conference. So yeah, you lost a lot, but you still have a big conference. So I guess it's a good problem to have.
I know. Yeah, we're having so we don't have like a regular season conference schedule. So we won't see a lot of these teams until we actually get to the conference tournament at the end of the year, which is always a little nerve-wracking, but what can you do about it? Yeah. So like Austin P, we might play them, but we see UNA. We won't see Eastern Kentucky and Central Arkansas, so a lot of that we won't see. But I mean, we're doing we're basically doing a double limb bracket conference tournament, which are always a battle in the first
always exciting. You want to see who rises from the ashes after that first loss.
Yeah, the first two titles we won here were coming through the losers bracket, so we've been there.
Well, let's look outside the conference now, but who, in your opinion, based on what you see from your end and the chatter, nationally are the teams to watch?
Obviously UCLA. I think, I mean, they think they've been all over, but they returned so much, and they got, a couple of transfers in. So I just think from top, like, they're just going to be strong again. And I think they have a ton of experience, and they're going to be probably out for a mission. I can expect that.
Yeah, they keep drawing your Florida girls, though. That's
I know. Yeah, Denenberg's probably always been one of my favorite players. She's just so physical. She's so good. I think Grand Canyon's really going to be like, I think it's the same. Like, they've got a lot returning. Really strong pairs and players. So I think that they're going to be just as good and probably upset a little bit more. They did some fun stuff in the fall where I was kind of looking, all we can kind of do is look at the results, but it looked like they did really well. So I think out west, those are kind of the two I have pinged right now. And, your usual suspects of Stanford and USC and stuff like that, but I haven't seen them. So yeah.
Well, you got to keep an eye on the East there and the Midwest for that matter, just because of, there's so much talent spread about, and it's amazing looking at rosters and seeing the talent where teams are pulling them from, and they're kind of all over the place in a good way.
Yeah.
Literally all over the world. Let's put it that way. All over the world in the roster.
No, like I said, there's a lot of East. I mean, TCU, obviously, they're
Yep.
going to be really strong again. LSU, FSU, South Carolina, I think is hopefully, they've got a lot of strong pieces and they've got a lot of experience. So it'll be interesting to see what they can kind of do with that. I feel like they've always kind of been on that bubble of kind of breaking out and maybe this is the year for them. And FIU, FAU, I feel like we always have the Florida battle stuff going on with everybody, but everybody's got a lot of good players. Like I said, I don't think it's anything that you walk in with like some level of comfort. It's just like, we know we have to kind of battle it out over here.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think there's going to be a lot of really fun East stuff and really competitive East teams. I think most everybody kind of returned a lot and got a lot. They had some transfers coming in and out. So hopefully we can kind of lump over the West a little bit more this year.
Well, excellent stuff. This is head coach Kristina Hernandez of Stetson University. Looking forward to starting off the season and seeing you on the West Coast, because you're going to be right up the block, right up Pacific Coast Highway from me at Long Beach State. So I'm going to see if I can jump at that opportunity and meet you in person. But I appreciate you coming on.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Be sure to follow Kristina and her team on social media. Get it trending. People look at these analytics and show that there is a huge interest in collegiate beach volleyball, the Stetson Hatters, and just all of the sport of volleyball. So thank you again, Kristina.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to College Volleyball Weekly. Be sure to follow Rob Espero at the Rob on the Mic on Instagram and at Rob on the Mic on Twitter.